Hi everyone. When I was living in Israel and studying in Israel, I used to go to a really great bookstore called the Galeriat HaSfarim, the book gallery. It was on Rehov Shatz in Jerusalem, just round the back of where the old Knesset used to be, near King George, I think we're talking about Jaffa Street, or King George Street, actually, King George Street in Jerusalem. And I loved this bookstore. And I remember getting a book called Concepts of Judaism. I don't know if that's the wrong way around for you all there, by Isaac Breuer. Rabbi Isaac Breuer was born in the late 19th century, about 1883 he was born. He was a rabbi in Hungary. He was the grandson of Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch. His mother was the daughter of Rav Hirsch, who was the famous German rabbi. Really famous rabbi, well-known rabbi, and this is a book of his thinking. And he was a fascinatingly modern thinker and some really interesting insights. And he wrote an article in this book, or an essay, on the concept of miracle. What is a miracle? Now, I could talk for a long time about that, but I'm going to get from that question to this week's Parashat, in which there is a proof text for Rabbi Breuer's theory. He spends part of the article rejecting what he calls the breakthrough theory of miracle. What does that mean? That means there is a theory of miracle, which is that God intervenes in nature, breaks nature, and through breaking nature, miracle happens. So in other words, when the sea was split and the Jewish people came through on dry land, it's a miracle. Well, how is it a miracle? This theory would posit. Well, it's a miracle because God broke nature. He caused water, instead of to run together, to split. And there is actually a midrash that everywhere in the world, it's like Bruce Almighty, if you've ever seen the film there, where he splits the water in a cup, or a drink in a cup in a cafe. It's like everywhere in the world the water split. Nature was broken. Now, Breuer doesn't like that. And he says the problem with that approach is, one day, people might pen articles to decide how actually what you said was a breakthrough of nature isn't a breakthrough at all. It can be explained by natural phenomena. Every possible breakthrough, right, can be eventually explained using our own understanding of science. So that's not a miracle. It's not a miracle to say something happened that looks incredible when eventually you can actually explain it through the parameters of knowledge that we have. So instead, for Breuer, a miracle is something that needs to have no psychological or perceptive context to it. I can't actually put it anywhere within the tools of understanding that I have. It has to be meta. It's got to be above the knowledge and the context and the rubric that I have. So that however much I try, I can't really understand it. And so that is a way I need to explain a miracle, says Breuer. And for him, it's the intervention of God that creates the miraculous, because our understanding of God is above our perception, above our understanding. And his proof text for that, interesting enough, is the burning bush in this week's Parsha. We're told Moses had been tending the sheep of his father-in-law Jethro, right? He's had to escape from Pharaoh because he kills the Egyptian, smites the Egyptian, runs away to Midian, which he's going to find a wife there, meets this guy Jethro. He led the sheep and came to the mountain of God, to Horeb. There an angel of God appeared to him in the heart of a fire from the midst of a thorn bush. He looked, and behold, the thorn bush was burning in fire, and the thorn bush was not consumed. The theory of Breuer is that he looked at the bush as a human being would do. When we see something, we want to understand it. He looked at this bush with this weird phenomena that it wasn't being burned up, and thought, I'd like to understand that. What's going on here? How, with my human ability, can I understand that? And he says that's the nature of humanity. When we see something weird and different, we look at it and think, how can we explain that? But when God came into the bush, spoke from the bush, it was at that point, right, that he said, I can't understand this. Moshe hides his face, for he is afraid to look on the Lord. It's at that point that he hides his face. He realizes Now I don't get it. Now there's something beyond perception. That's his theory of miracle in a nutshell. And maybe also in our days of vaccine, when we know that vaccine is incredibly important, and we all obviously will take the vaccine, or we should be, because I already can sense that it's doing an incredible job. We always need to maintain, I feel, that area of life which is above science, above reality. And for me as an individual, that's what Torah does. Torah, having been the word of God, is itself miraculous, is itself had come from an experience which is, in a sense, not fully able to be put within the parameters of human understanding, as is creation, an event which, however much we want to look at, try and understand scientifically, it will be impossible for us to understand that element of God's involvement in the creative moment as a person of belief. Some thoughts on miracle, and some thoughts also on understanding the burning bush, the famous episode which takes up quite a bit of the Parsha this week as well. Have a lovely Shabbat, keep well, look after yourself, keep safe, do be in touch if you want to, and take that vaccine, of course, when your time comes to do it. Shabbat Shalom.